Howdy, y'all. We are doing a little combined stream here. Faith has been doing her series, but I figured since we both had some time and we recorded a video, but we didn't post it, so I figured we'd do a live here. And I apologize. I left your name off of the, incidentally, left your name off of the moniker here. Not trying to diss anyone. Respect. So we wanted to talk about the depopulation agenda that is destroying not just our country, Japan, and a bunch of other countries. And you're going to want to move your mic closer because you speak softly and carry a big stick. There we go. And Robert Malone had written a pretty good article on his Substack. So I thought we could talk about this and we can read through it and kind of interject and kind of do what we do. And I thought it was a good overlap for all of our channels. So I thought it was a good idea. And hey, Sherry from Indiana. Good to have you on tonight. And so I'll share the screen with y'all. This comes from Robert Malone's Substack. Population control and the American way of life. And just like that, the new gene therapy-based birth control technology is born. And this shows you collapsing populations as well as expanding populations. And Tringo, worldwide birth rates per thousand follows a very predictable trend in developed and or wealthy nations. The birth rate is low, and in nations at the lower end of the economic development scale, the birth rate is high. Nothing new there. Many countries, including the USA, have birth rates that either are too low to sustain current population levels or are stable. Since 1990, the population of people born in the USA has been stable at below 300 million. In fact, some estimates show a decline in population. All of the population growth in the USA during this time period has been due to immigration. That is why the USA has grown to 336 million people in 50 years. This trend has only increased in recent years. There were a record 44.8 million immigrants living in the United States in 2018, making up 13.7% of the nation's population. This represents a more than four-fold since 1960, when 9.7 million immigrants lived in the U.S., accounting for 5.4% of the total U.S. population. For Jill and I, growing up in a blue state, we were indoctrinated at an early age by the public school system that having two children was the responsible thing to do to save the planet from overpopulations. This is called Malthusianism, right? And this is called eugenics. And Robert Malone is well into his 60s. And when he was in the government propaganda camps, they were spewing this overpopulation nonsense back then. That careers were more important than having a large family, that women would find more fulfillment in an education and career as opposed to staying at home, that women should defer motherhood until college and a career were firmly established, that this was the responsible path to date. Today, young women receive the same messaging from our government, our school systems, and mainstream corporate media. And I would very much echo the sentiment that the immigration is absolutely an invasion. Legal immigration is great. It's what made America, it's really what made America what it was, with all of our diversity and legal immigration. Faith's grandparents were first generation? Both of your grandparents on both sides, were they first generation immigrants?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yes.
they both came fresh off the boat the legal way
Mhm.
and did it the right way, and prospered and had successful, like, blue collar working kind of jobs, and worked their way up and did what people used to do
Mhm.
and survived and thrived. This messaging by the US government is still as strident as when I was in my youth 50 to 60 years ago. And now the difference of the message is with all this gender nonsense and all this born that way stuff. um that whole entire rainbow alphabet agenda is clearly a depopulation tactic, and it's also a divisional tactic, and it's a permanent uh collapse, and it's also the symptoms of a collapsing society.
Mhm.
This message by the US government is still strident. The truth is that the UN Agenda's 2030 asserts that migration is a human right.
Wow.
This is how to have a global planetary citizenry, right?
Yeah.
Migration's a human right wherever you feel like you need to go, um, whatever nationality, I guess, that you uh,
Yeah. Well,
identify
we're
as
all
that
global citizens. That's the whole thing, right?
global citizen.
Yeah.
Um, what this means in practicality is that persons born in countries with high birth rates have a right to migrate into wealthy countries with low birth rates. To begin, migration is not a human right. Property laws and nation states exist for a reason. To assert otherwise is to assert that there is a one world government which is in control of migration.
Mhm.
Another usurpation of authority by the UN and the World Economic Forum.
Mhm.
This nation's rules and regulations, our very constitution, do not apply to non citizens. This is by design. Let's abide by our Constitution and Bill of Rights, not UN agreements
Mhm.
such as Agenda 2030, which was signed by a US president and never ratified by the Senate. Our country has done a fine job of convincing the American populace that large family size hurts and individuals in aggregate. We were told that the reward of that, for better or worse, would be a stabilized population over time and preservation of the American way of life, environment, cultural heritage, and associated economic opportunities for U.S. citizens. And yet, still, they persist. This week, Kamala Harris specifically stated that a reduced population was key to children being able to breathe and drink clean water. This is not the first time that she has asserted this false narrative. So let's quote Camel Face. We invest in clean energy and electric vehicles
Right.
and reduce population. So she's saying when we invest in reduced population,
Mhm.
more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Wow.
So there you go. That's from Camel Face herself.
Mm.
Yet the Biden border crisis, and I think that's a little bit too partisan for me because this border crisis has existed for forever. So, this isn't Biden's thing. I mean, he's helped exacerbate it and accelerate it,
Mhm.
or or the deep state has, and the deep state transcends both red and blue and elections and all that stuff. And the rate of illegal immigration continues to surge. It is a no brainer to think that an option to reduce population might be as simple as reducing immigration if that was their true intent. Of course, right? If you want to stabilize or reduce the US population, stop all these uh, invaders from invading.
I think it's more their focus is the world population as a whole.
Well, then go to all these third world
Mm.
countries that are exploding and do what they've been doing by like
Mhm.
enslaving these people
Or
and
doing other
using
experimental
using
things.
them as cannon fodder and everything else.
Yeah.
Because they just
They
love to
do.
kill people.
They do. And I'm sure they have an action plan in place for achieving those 3 goals of clean energy, electric vehicles, and
Electric
reducing
vehicles.
population.
What a retard. Cut me a break. Let's talk about talking points. The truth is that the USA has a vibrant and amazing culture, a heritage built on independence, free speech, shared values, and strong work ethic. This heritage can easily be diluted by too much immigration. Just look at what's happening in France right now.
Mhm.
Open immigration policies have worked to cause a vast instability within the nation. France literally can no longer integrate so many people with such different sets of cultural norms into their core national culture. This is not progress. Under globalism, the heterogeneous cultures throughout the world are being weaponized as a way to destroy diversity, a path towards enabling a single globalized government, the UN and the WEF, which is precisely what open borders, the immigration policies of the UN, and even governments seem to be working towards. It is time to end this nonsense and get back to a closed and orderly immigration system. There are over 8 billion people in the world. The U.S. cannot take all those that wish to immigrate. To think otherwise is foolish. President Trump had it right. America has to be an independent and free nation. Well, I wish he wouldn't have sold us out. We need to rely on Americans for our goods and services. A strong economy is one that meets its own needs internally, whereby goods, services, medical care, energy are produced domestically. A strong nation doesn't need to import low wage earners to do its dirty work. The bizarre director of reducing the naturally born population while importing new immigrants serves no functional purpose except to further globalize the U.S.
Mhm.
By accepting large numbers of immigrants while reducing our own American population, we further regress as a nation, and we will continue to accelerate economic devastation of both middle class and urban poor citizens. A new world order where immigration is a right, borders are open, and the ebb and flow of populations is seeding American nationalism and will destroy the American experiment in self-governance. Our government needs to stay out of the business of enforcing population measures. For years, there have been rumors.
Oh, yeah, we got to be careful.
Yeah, there's stuff
Yeah,
in here that
we
you can't talk
We're
about
not going to be able to read some of
on
these
them
things.
tube. So
We
what I'll
can
do, here's what I'll
probably,
do. On the
yeah,
I'll put it in the live feed here.
yeah, y'all are going to have to continue reading the article.
You can continue reading that since
We can't.
since we live in America
Free speech
and we
is
have so much
gone.
free speech, and free speech is so dead that we literally can't read words that are
No,
on the screen.
but y'all can check it out. I think it's a good conversation to have because, I mean, this is definitely a real issue that really does affect all of us. As
Oh
they
my.
continue just to flood our country with, there's only so much that I think a country can handle. And, people need time, even legally, when people come over, they still need time to get comfortable in a new country, right? There is a what is that called? Like there is like an adjustment period, right, where they need to find work, they need to find housing, they need to, right? There's like most people don't come to a new country and hit the ground running, right? There's like a there's a time period where they're just trying to get set up again and get established again. So just so many people being able to come over. And I don't know, what was the thing just a couple weeks ago? Does anybody know about Abbott and Texas doing
border buoys.
The border buoys, those big buoys, putting them all down the river. That seemed very interesting to slow the people down.
Yeah,
from
at least it's something. I'll give them that.
From
It's something.
Yeah, it was just going to like deter people from just coming over on boats.
Unfortunately, Abbott's in bed with the guy with the squatter city complex down near Houston. So
yeah, but it was interesting. It's a
political display of that he cares when he doesn't care.
It seems like an interesting theory, but I think there's so many aspects to this depopulation and the social experiment that they've been playing on us for so long now.
Yeah, and it's in the name of diversity, they're destroying diversity because that's what they do. Everything, every type of act, every act of government, it's always the exact opposite of what they label it. So like the diversity, equity, and inclusion is really about making everybody exactly the same, making us all like inked up with ear gauges and pink hair and androgynous and incapable of knowing.
Yeah, and even it starts from preschool all the way up to this environment, save the environment religion, right? And they indoctrinate the little kids all the way from preschool all the way up through college, and now we have college age people and beyond taking pledges to never have children, right? Because this child-free movement is like huge.
Well, and they have their fur babies.
Well, yeah, and they think that they're saving their planet. They think that they're actually going to save the planet by reducing their footprint to the point that they've pledged to never have children themselves.
So sad.
And some of they're just very deceived.
And that's it's mental illness, and part of the mental illness of a postmodern, post-truth world, in a very weird way, it is a self-sorting system, which is kind of interesting. It just really depends on how long this whole game is going to play out, because if this thing was allowed to play out long term for 1,000 years, they would completely self-sort, and it would be collapse the system that collapses itself. And it is Saul Alinsky, but at the same time, it's developed so that you can never be liberal or psychotic enough, and so that way it'll Ouroboros and eat itself.
Well, it's just very easily to manipulate people who are deceived. I think that's kind of what it plays back into, right? Is that if they don't understand basic things in life, they're just look how easy it is to manipulate people into not having children. You just tell them to just pledge their life to be child free, and they're going to do good by saving the planet, and people do it. Like intelligent adult
well, yeah, people, even professing Christians are like, oh, we've had our 2 kids and that's enough.
Right.
We had a pink one and a blue one, hopefully, and all that stuff, but there's very little appreciation for large families anymore. And people, and then they want to know why. People ask us all the time, like, how do we do what we do, and how do we get all this stuff done? Because of our children. That's how they do all the work and the systems, and they reap the rewards of it. And that's all part of our heritage. That's another thing that we want to add to our channel's theme with faith, family, food is finances, and we're going to be talking about that moving forward. But that's all part of the legacy and building a family legacy, and private family banking and all those things is, and what it is it's completely opposite and antithetical to even general thinking, even among Christianity, when it comes to like investing and all that nonsense. Too many people they're like, well, we need to be peculiar and we need to be different. But when it comes to finances, like the stock market, I got the 401k. I can't tell you how many people um, got a medical procedure for the sake of a 401k or a pension or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and off themselves, accidentally killed themselves or
Yeah.
whatever for the sake of a 401k or a pension or a profit sharing, and Christian people.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And but that's all part of getting psyched out into a financial system that's a completely fake system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you get sucked into that, and you're literally willing to sacrifice yourself to the medical industrial complex
Right.
as like a lottery attempt, as
Well,
maybe I'll make it and then I'll get to keep my
uh,
money that I saved or whatever.
Michelle Slack said, my grandmother had 14 children and adopted one. That's awesome. Yeah, I think we come from big families, right? Most of us can go back a generation or two and know that big families were where it's at, and today in the US, we are in a population crisis. If you just Google birth crisis, not just in the US, but in most first world countries, we are in a birth crisis. We are not in a good place where we're even replacing our population that we have. We're in a major declining population. And yeah, we just even they said, even though 2020 we had like a little surge in babies being born and all of that, because everybody got locked up at
For the
home.
scamo damo.
But so there was a little bit of a baby boom, but even
Scamorama
that did not really make a dent in the overall decline in population. So I think the important thing is just to keep talking about it, especially as Christians. We need to keep open conversation, especially if we're at church or we're around other believers, and we can encourage the young people to keep having children. That's like a really important thing to encourage people in. And I did have a verse. You want to read this?
Yeah, sure.
So I do have a verse. This does tie in. We're doing kind of like a collab tonight.
1 Timothy 5:14 says, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. And these things are assumed as well. Scripture assumes a lot of things, and people unfortunately can't read and keep things in context. But this assumes, I would therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, wants them to be a keeper at home, right? And then everybody will explain to you and tell you why they can't do that and why it's so expensive to have kids. Yet, nobody talks about generational wealth. Nobody talks about what kind of financial system and activities it takes to do that. So therefore, everybody's in the same dumb rat race game where you get some menial dead end job or whatever, and you go to college so you can get a good education.
You're set up for failure.
And you're set up as a debt slave for failure.
Absolutely.
And there's no structure for financial legacy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it starts with the girls going off to college and taking on a lot of college debt. And even if you work,
getting brainwashed,
even if you were able to work for a couple of years before you got married, you're probably not going to make enough money in those couple of years to pay back off your college debt. And and you just might lose your faith in the mix of trying to get that college degree. And then you're coming to the marriage with debt. I know, like, this is firsthand experience, y'all. We didn't pay off our combined college debt until just
probably about 6 years ago. I remember we did a video, we did a live stream.
When we finally paid off the final college debt. So then there's all this guilt, there's all this responsibility that the woman has, that I know I had, in thinking like, well, I accrued all this debt and now I have this degree and I'm able to make this much money. So obviously it would make sense to put our children in daycare or pay someone to watch them so that way I can pay off this debt. Yeah, you're a slave to the system. So it's really expensive to raise children and have children. And it's really expensive to have a large family if you're trying to do it in the world system, the way the world does it, the way
Broken, collapsed debt system.
it's totally a backward system. You know, you have to have a nice house, a nice car.
It's anti-capitalist.
2 vehicles.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to do the birthday parties and
Debt-based economy.
all of the things to the world standards. And, you know, of course, they have to have a Pinterest bedroom and, you know, nursery and, you know, all the baby equipment. And yeah, nobody can do that. Only 2-family income, a very high 2-family income, can provide that level of living. And these young Christian couples see this and they think that to have a baby or to have a family, I have to be able to provide this level, this standard of living. And that standard of living is a false.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. It only exists on social media.
Yeah, and it's a debt-based illusion. It only exists through massive mountains of debt.
It's not realistic. And if you just go back to our generation or our parents' generation, nobody had like themed bedrooms and themed nurseries, and the babies didn't have artificial plants in their nursery.
And that's from they have feminized men, and they made all this womany stuff just gay, and the dudes got so effeminate, like everything turned gay.
Well, I think it's
Did I say the word gay enough?
I think it's also just the brainwashing, just the social experiment to the women that you have to live to this certain standard, you know, and that's what we were sold, you know. And when we decided to that I was going to stay home with our children, you know, certain relatives of our family was like, you know, well, how are you going to take them to Disney World every year?
Oh,
and how are you going to provide vacations and all this?
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, all they need is a mom that loves them and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the rest will work itself out. I am not required to take them to Disney World ever.
No, we love our children.
You know, that's not.
And we're not into like trafficking.
If you get to go on a vacation, wonderful. But it's not this like standard of living requirement. And especially when you're early 20s, you're just starting out, you're just starting a family, and you're trying to base how many children you're going to have based on some artificial stereotype. It's just crazy. So anyway.
Social engineering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Social planners, postmodern, post-truth, geopolitical shenanigans.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember going into back then, they had like a Babies R Us, you know, and I was pregnant with our first one. And I would spend hours in the Babies R Us, like I was working. So like every week I would stop in there and just walk around and check my registry. And I'm like, I really need all of this stuff to have a baby. Like you need baby wipey warmers. Like I didn't even, and that was 18 years ago, y'all. They got way more stuff now. And, I just had no idea. Like I was so like, wow, I had no idea that you needed all this to have a baby. And I remember my grandmother was like, you know what, we had to have a baby, like a blanket, maybe like you could have a little baby blanket. You're gonna nurse the baby, have a couple little clean outfits to keep the baby in. They used cloth diapers because that's all they had back then. And that's really all a baby requires. Like a baby is very, very simple. A baby does not require like a whole store full of equipment and all of that stuff. It's just silly
marketing.
Yeah, it's just not necessary. And so, yeah.
Yeah, childcare is obscenely expensive, and that is where children get treated in improper ways that permanently affect them for life.
Yeah, I mean the best place for a newborn baby all the way up till 5 years old is with their mother. That is the best, most healthiest place for that child to be, because 0 to 5 years old, that little brain is forming so many connections. There's a lot of attachment things going on in that brain, and there's just only a mother can nurture that child that she birthed
That's the way it was designed.
Well, that
Right.
is the way that it is designed. That child is genetically the mother and the father combined, and that mother and father know how to interact with that child better than anybody else on planet Earth. And when you pluck that child out of that at whatever age between 0 and 5 and try to put them into a group of 20 children or whatever, even a couple children, but it's not your mother and father anymore. That natural bond is not there. That those interactions are very different. They're artificial. The child is not getting what it needs. Now, I mean, there's a lot of people that grow up and they can overcome a lot of things, but there's just a lot of study and a lot of research on 0 to 5 brain development, and keeping those young babies and young little children in place in the home with the mother is critical. It's critical to psychological development, like just so many things you can look into it.
Yeah, and when I was a financial planner, when we would do a financial analysis on a married working couple, we showed this was an absolute fact. When we analyzed their finances, if they were being honest, we showed them every single time that the wife was working. If they had children, the wife was working to pay the expenses generated by childcare, and if they were in a private school and all that nonsense, and the extra vehicle and the extra insurance, and every time, and I'm telling you, every time, except in these certain scenarios
Sure.
where the wife was making more than the guy, which was usually just because the guy was like a weenie loser kind of guy. If the wife quit her job, they would have more discretionary income.
Yes, that always, it usually always holds true. And I think Dave Ramsey did some really good things. You could even look him up on YouTube. And for young people, I know a friend of mine in Indiana, she had her son, before he graduated his homeschool, go through the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace Program, because she just felt like it laid a really good foundation for him before marriage, and that him and his wife could understand really well finances. Because I remember him saying, like, breaking it down about, like, it's not just the amount of money that the woman's bringing in. It's the extra vehicle, it's the extra gas, it's the extra tolls, it's the office envelopes that they pass around for every time someone in the office at work has a baby, or a baby shower, or a bridal shower, or a retirement party, or a birthday, and you're constantly putting money in for those kind of things. And then she needs clothing to wear to work every day, right? So if you're home, you can have like a certain level of clothing, but then if you're going out to work, you have to have work clothes, right? And home clothes. And then you're probably eating out more because you're at work, and there's luncheons and there's different things like that. And then you come home and you're tired. So you're probably apt to at least once or twice a week order out, right? So you have that expense. You're not cooking from scratch. So you're losing all of your money on more like, fast foods kind of things,
and just discretionary waste.
There's just so much that goes into it when the mom is working. And when you really, not to mention private school and uniforms.
Yeah, Mike says hair, nails, all that stuff.
Yeah, you have to
$100
look
plus for
nice.
your haircut.
Sure, and
$50 for your nails.
Absolutely. And then the kids, if they're in private school, you're paying for ridiculous private school tuition. Ridiculous.
And it's terrible. I don't care if it's a classical.
You're paying for uniforms. You're paying for them to be on a sports team. You're paying for aftercare.
Terrible.
Sometimes before care and
Terrible
aftercare.
Waste.
You're paying for lunches, because most of the time, even if you pack their lunch every day, they're going to have like once a week order in lunches or something like that. It's just ridiculous the amount of money that ends up being
Suckers.
spent on, they're going to go on class trips.
For suckers.
They're going to have class pictures. It's going to be something
money
constantly.
game. Yeah.
And
it's a money game.
And we know because we can speak of it firsthand. So
been there,
it's
did
a
that.
Trap. It's just totally a trap.
I was a retard.
Yeah. So I think Michelle wants to see my dress.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, you can wait till the end.
It's a dress a day. And I have an exciting
wait till the end
dress.
of the stream.
This
I don't want to like everybody to leave the stream.
Don't leave. I'm going to be real quick with the dress, Michelle. But this dress I'm pretty excited about because it's different than my other dresses. You can't tell till I stand up. But I'm excited that this is actually going to be
look at it drop.
A
look at the
swimsuit. What?
Watch the attendance drop.
Stop.
2 people just dropped off.
Stop it. This is actually going to be like a swim. It's going to be beach attire / dress.
Okay,
Michelle, that was just for you. Just for you. Sorry. Okay.
You're welcome, Michelle.
Go ahead. You take over.
Yeah, so, just wanted this entire 2030 agenda. It's all Malthusian. All of this overpopulation thing is a complete and total manifestation of eugenics and of all these like really old white dudes that are super cool with killing everybody and like to Georgia Guidestone levels. It's all it is. All it is a mechanism, and it's straight from the Club of Rome. And they wrote about this in the 70s. And they said, and the Club of Rome is the same people that founded the WEF, the World Economic Forum. And they talked about how they would do this and how they would deconstruct the population.
Sure.
And now you got Camel Face talking about how if we invest in reducing the population.
And they know they can do it. They can do it just through social media. They can do it just through a social experiment.
They can do it just through the EPA saying, yeah, blow up the train and you spray dioxins all over like half of the country.
Or there's this, right? I'm seeing here at the BBC, right? Adults celebrating child-free lives, right? So it says this trend sits alongside some research that suggests growing numbers of actively choosing not to have kids. In the US, in 2021, Pew Research Center study showed some 44% of non-parents aged 18 to 49 don't think they will have children, up from 37% in 2018. So there's just more and more people. There's a huge movement of people that are deciding to just not ever have children.
Oh, it's so insane.
They control the narrative. They brainwash people into thinking they're doing something good. And then they wear it like a badge of honor.
And I hear Christians spew this stuff because they're like, I read the book of Revelation and everything's getting bad. And this is no world to raise a kid in. And that's just you are acting against scripture, and it's if you can't understand that, like you certainly don't understand Revelation or anything you're reading there. So certainly don't make a catastrophic error as like, not having children and having like one of the greatest blessings you could ever possibly ever hope to have. I mean, it's just, it's mental illness is what it is. And, the people that think this way, they've been so brainwashed and they're so malnourished, and that's part of it too, that they literally can't think straight, And then some people have been deprived of oxygen. They thought wearing a face diaper was a good thing and all that stuff. So there's lots of people that have permanently damaged their brains. So that could definitely be part of it. Yeah. And like Brianna says, there's people out there that can't have children, that are just doing whatever they can to try to have children. And then you got these perfectly able mental midgets that just are like, they're going to save the planet by not having children. Meanwhile, your government's just going to let all these creepers creep in, and you're self-sacrificing the greatest blessing in your life, and you're invaded and your population continues to explode. But yet you'll go blah, 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 and parrot these UN talking points. Yep. And you're just like, you're duped.
Yep.
You're duped.
Yeah. but they, it's so the masses of people are so easy for them to control. Like, I mean, we have just seen it time and time and time again with political issues, and they're just so easily manipulated into whatever the lingo is of the day, and they'll just buy into whatever it is that they're being sold. And it's fascinating to just see people be controlled.
Fascinating.
I don't know that it is going to even have to be like a mass genocide. Like, they're just willingly having people willingly just do this and just feel like, what is that called? Like when they feel like they've done like good for the world or whatever. What is that called? Like,
Mental illness.
No. I don't know all the new speak, but it's like,
Virtue
a
signaling.
virtue signal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they think. They think that, oh, I only had 2 kids. Look at that dirty old family. They have 8 children,
You know what causes that? You know what you need? TV.
Yeah, what a bunch of, and we've gotten that even from some family members in the past about, like, they did the socially appropriate thing because they can afford all of the finer things in life and the finer schools. And, it just so happens that they're Catholic. And you would think that if anybody, Catholics would be the ones to be having more children, right? But they, us dirty Baptists, how dare we have 6 children, which
how dare you?
Not even a big family.
Yeah,
it's not even a big family.
No, not even close.
So anyway,
but yeah, this has been a great topic. And would I debate pro-life on the Crucible? Well, those guys are like super ultra orthodox, and they would mock me for my primitive Baptist ways, and they would say that I'm not into the patristic writings enough. But I do appreciate Made by Jim Bob. I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, I am familiar with the Crucible channel.
All right. God bless me to raise my grandson for the past 12 years.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome. That's so great. It's a blessing. It's totally a blessing. They do mock.
I do want well, anyway, that's a totally different topic.
What time did we get on here?
We've been on here for 42 minutes, Mama.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Yeah, if y'all have any questions, there's so much that goes into this. I think the biggest thing of it is just
mind control.
Mind control. I think it's just a social experiment, and they're having a heyday.
Yeah, and the whole Prince and the Power of the Air, he's certainly running everything. So everybody that wonders how these conspiracies transpire, well, the Prince and the Power of the Air does all this. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Talk about imagining a vain thing. Oh, if you're just prideful, arrogant, and selfish, and you just care about yourself so much and care about Mama Gaia that you won't have children, it's kind of people imagining a vain thing, and then that they're doing all this stuff, and it's actually, meanwhile, they, them, and those are doing everything. They're spraying everything, and they're doing all this stuff to kill all of us. And you literally have morons that are like placating and buying into the propaganda.
Yeah.
And going with the flow.
Yeah. And Christians, I mean, we just should be the direct opposite of it.
Yeah.
We should just have our eyes wide open to
anti-culture.
Just be encouraging young families, young children that we're raising up in our home, to not be fearful of raising a family. I always encourage my older boys right now, especially, like, hey, Yeah, it's crazy. The world's crazy. The world has always been crazy. And you know what? There's been really, really dark times in the past. Look at World War One, World War Two. Look at all that went on during those times. And don't you think the Christians there would have had an excuse, if anybody, to not have children, right? Or postpone having children.
But
But
thanks to Christian Reconstructionism and postmillennial dominionism, we're living to 100 as a baby. And thankfully, Satan is currently bound
yeah,
and we're getting bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, Roe v. Wade has been overturned. These are all obvious signs that the church is marching forward into the millennia, and we're getting better, 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 and we're bringing in the kingdom through state-sanctioned Christianity, just
ourselves.
like Luther and Calvin would be so proud. Anyway,
Yeah, we're not all
I
millennials.
just wanted to take some interesting. I just wanted to some
Yeah.
commentary.
Yeah.
I
The church is marching forward,
can never
but
help
we're
myself.
marching yeah, better days are coming, but it might
They're
be
not going to be here.
they're not going to be. It's
Well,
going to get worse before it gets better, y'all.
yes, it's going to get much worse before it gets better. I think that's relatively clear. Yeah. And I am under no delusion that Satan is bound anywhere. He looks like it's like free play, and he's getting extra pinballs for the pinball machine. And we're the pinballs, y'all. Well, good for you, Mike, for homeschooling.
Yes,
That's
awesome.
part of the solution.
That's right. That's a big part.
You got to take control. Yes. You got to take control. The Vatican is nuts. Yeah.
Yep.
And this next pope is going to be wild.
It's going to scroll up and see what comments they're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Just every little step that we can take against what is, just a false system, it all makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and that's why I talk about like anti-culture, because as things go crazier and crazier and weirder, many people still hold this make America great again idea, and they think like if we revert to the 50s, and the problem is we had already been co-opted.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, we would have to revert to the Great Awakening. You know what I mean? To like the time of
Morally, you're saying?
Well, yeah, not just morally, but just philosophically.
I was going to say, you're going to have to wear a whole lot more clothes if you're going back to the time of the Great Awakening.
Hey, man,
you're
take
gonna
it.
have to.
I'm cool with it.
The men had lots of layers on back then.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, that's why they didn't. That's why they didn't settle Texas back then. It was too dang hot.
Catholic charity is the driving force above the law. Traffic in Texas, you can't stop them.
Oh yeah, the cat lickers are super. They are it's child trafficking rat lines. It's the same rat lines that move the Nazis around before.
Michael P., what state are you in? I'm just curious. I think homeschooling and homesteading do go hand in hand. I think that it's really important to be able to feed your family and be as independent as possible with your food. When you can control the amount, there's not much that you can really control in life with cost, but food is a huge one that we can control the cost. And that's really awesome to be in charge of your own food.
The formerly great state of Michigan. Oh, well, we will pray for you.
Okay.
We will pray for you, Michael. Okay. You are in Michigan. And
we were just watching Pickers last night, American Pickers, and they were in Michigan.
They were in the thumb of Michigan.
Yes. Some good people up there in Michigan.
Well, yeah, there's good people up there in Michigan, but it's still Michigan.
It's cold up there. It's cold country. They put sled skis on their Ford
Model A's.
Model A Fords back, in the day up there, Michael. It was pretty cool. We learned about that last night on Pickers. They found these skis that they actually made to put on the vehicle so they could drive the vehicles in Michigan.
Yeah. The things people will do to live in a cold place. No.
Oh boy.
They got to be very creative.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. So anyway, that is our topic for the night. We just thought that it kind of coincided pretty well together, talking about children, raising children, the next generation, and we just thought, well, we'll hop on here together.
Yeah, and I think we've resolved our internet connectivity. We are going to be switching from Restream, even though we already paid for it, to StreamYard. That seems to work a little bit better. So we're going to continue to improve stuff. This is a value for value proposition. If you love and enjoy the content we put out, all that we ask is that you go to TheTexasBoys.com, check out our merch and our stuff. And if it's something you need, buy it. We try to keep it very effectively priced for y'all so that it's affordable. We try to keep shipping down. We keep evaluating, and we want to make it affordable for y'all. So definitely, please go there and check it out. The kids appreciate it, and this is all funding our legacy. You know, and it's funny because people see me and Faith on the channel and they think we do not extract a penny from the system.
No,
right?
no.
We're
free labor.
Yeah, this is the boys, one of their many businesses, and this funds the machine. And it's certainly not crack tube ad revenue, because if we had to depend on that, we would all be eating top ramen.
Yeah.
And
it's just one of their little side businesses.
Yeah.
It helps them to keep making videos for the channel. And then it also just gets them out there for their other businesses, like their sawmilling, their construction business. And then they have a meat business now.
Yeah. And if you're in Northeast Texas and you're looking for beef or pork, you know, we still got one beef and one pork left, and we do some by halves.
Yes.
So
it's small. It's a smaller amounts. So
yeah.
How hot is it here? I saw somebody ask.
102 today.
102 today. A cool 102. That's without a heat index.
I was weed whacking the back food forest.
And I had to say hey to Carlos, because Carlos was up there somewhere. Hey, Carlos. And also, Carlos, thank you for dropping the link to the shop. Thank you. Thank you. I know the boys appreciate it. Matt's always like, Mom, you gotta show the products sometimes, because I just get busy talking and then I never shout out the farm shop, and I forget to talk about any products. I know they're they reduced significantly the cost of, just this week, this is brand new for any of you who like the mushroom coffee, the organic mushroom coffee. Go check that out on the website. I think I'm going to make a little banner for it to say it's at a new price. It's at a very, very good new price for the mushroom coffee. So
don't make it too cheap now.
Yeah.
Kids got to eat.
Yeah, it's hot. Summertime's hot.
We have been blessed with an inordinate amount of rain. We have already had well in excess of our annual accumulation.
Yes.
So, all of the trees are doing pretty well. I picked a couple of fresh figs today, the first ones of the season, a little bit late this year.
Yes. And the little kids
peaches.
Came in. Yeah, they had some peaches today, and they had some corn on the cob. And I was like, how are we going to do this? Because we planted all this garden stuff, you know, before we went carnivore. So we're like, 45 days in or whatever, I think, on carnivore now. So I was like, just have it as snacks. We told the little ones, we're like, just pull off at your corn and then you can just shuck it and have it as a snack.
And it was good.
So sweet like that. So I said, don't pick too much, you know, just pick one or two just to have as a little snack running around. So that's what they did.
Michael wanted to know, what is mushroom coffee?
Oh, it's a mushroom blend. You have to go on the website, Michael, but I think it's a 3 mushroom blend of shiitake, reishi, and lion's mane, I think. And then also organic coffee. So you kind of get the perks of both.
It's delectable.
Yeah. You get
mushrooms are adaptogenic herbs that are good for you.
Yes.
Although some carnivores would disagree.
Yes.
But
There's all kinds of carnivores.
there's
There's
all
all kinds of
kinds.
carnivores. So
if it works, do it.
that's right. We are mostly meat based.
Yeah, it's not
Well,
black magic.
we're all meat based, meat and eggs. That's our thing. So, but I do have coffee. I'm a coffee carnivore still.
Yes.
I have my coffee. I don't put anything in it. And you have a teaspoon of honey every day in your coffee. So and
Our
that's
honey.
taboo, depending on who you listen
Well,
to.
not according to Paul Saladino.
But it's fine. It's
Paul's
fine.
cool with fruit too.
You know, yeah. So we want to encourage people who want to get healthy. We have several different older couples that are a little older than us who are buying meat from us, and they're just encouraged, and they're like going to try the carnivore or the keto thing. And we're just so excited to see people wanting to just try something to get healthy. And it's not about if you're doing it perfectly. It's not about perfectionism, y'all. It's just about weaning yourself.
It's about results. It's about something that works. You know what I mean? It's rather incredible. And I'll tell you this, you want to hear something wild? Because I've always taken allergy medicine as clean and as pure and as everything I've ever tried to do. I've always taken allergy medicine. And if I ever don't take it, I'll basically get infected sinuses. And I've been trying to force myself off of the allergy meds. Well, since carnivore, there's been no meds. And usually when I would weed whack, it would like shut me down for the rest of the day. And I just weed whack for like 2 hours in the back food forest with a really awesome Ryobi electric. And I really hate to like talk about electric powered stuff.
We love the electric lawnmower.
Yeah, the electric lawnmower, the Ryobi electric riding lawnmower, and the Ryobi weed whacker are rather spectacular. All right.
Kamala won us over on that.
Not sponsored yet, Ryobi. Okay. Yeah, Camel Face would be so proud of us. But anyway, but yeah, so I weed whacked for 2 hours, and I came in like covered in pollen and like green shrapnel.
He looked like a grass man. He looked like one of those like swamp man, swamp man coming out of the swamp, and he's got like all the green. Like that's when I looked over at the kitchen sink. I'm like, oh, you're like covered in grass.
Yeah, and the thing is the carnivore deal, it's so anti-inflammatory, you don't have allergetic responses. Like, no.
That's so crazy. That's
the same reason why you don't snore, just the like if I shaved my beard makes my face look fat. If I shave my beard off,
it just makes your face look square, honey, not fat.
Oh, well, that's because my barber just trimmed my fade. He faded me in.
Yeah, but that's amazing.
I love my barber.
I mean, you've literally been on allergy medicine since I've known you every single day.
Yeah.
And it would really bother me at different points. I would really be
and I hated having to take something every single day. It bothered me so bad. I hated it.
And you've always taken it.
Always.
Yeah. So
because I would try to stop. And if I'm off for like 2 to 3 days, I'm like, oh,
you'll get sick.
I get a sore throat and then I'm like, sick.
Yeah. So you get a sinus infection. And the other crazy thing that you told me today was,
well, don't say all the crazy stuff I said today.
No, I'm just going to say the other crazy thing that you told me today was that you haven't been getting sunburn.
Yeah. Carnivores don't sunburn.
That's bizarre. I thought he was saying it mockingly.
No, I'm dead serious.
I thought he's been saying that for like a couple weeks now. And every time he said it, I just thought he was mocking. Like, like, oh, there's these great claims, and I was just like, okay, yeah. But then today, I actually looked at him, and then I was like,
I mean, y'all, I am outside every day, and I'm on buildings, and I'm on like these thermoplastic deals and like high reflectivity.
Your shoes melted the other day.
Yeah, the other day I was on a roof, and I burnt the bottom of my feet through my sneakers.
Yeah.
Because I wear these like lightweight foam deals, so it's easier to climb on steep roofs.
And his feet were burnt.
I literally burnt my feet.
It was
but not bad.
You worked all day.
It was hot.
The whole day last Saturday from morning until night. You worked outside in the sun with no sunscreen on, no hat on.
I never liked sunscreen.
And you always had your big sombrero hat. And I said, I'm packing sunscreen and I'm going to pack your big hat. And You didn't.
I don't need no
you-
stinking hot man.
No, and you didn't get burnt.
No, I didn't get
That's
burnt today.
bizarre.
I worked
I don't
outside today
understand
for
that.
hours and hours, and it was 102. No burn.
Huh.
I think I don't know. I don't know exactly
It's
all in all
so
what it has to do with.
bizarre.
But they said the same thing like about your earwax, and this goofy stuff happened with my ears.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I was underwater for like a day, and it was so
Yeah.
weird, and it really happened, and it's so
It's
weird.
so crazy. And he called me and he was like,
I feel like I'm underwater,
I feel like
man.
I'm underwater. Something, I don't know what's going on. And then I said, well, I have this like ear wash thing that I bought for my little kids because my little kids back like several months ago, I had to take them to the doctors. They had to have antibiotics because they had all this earwax and it got infected and it was a mess. So I was like cleansing their ears twice a day. It was a disaster. It was a mess. But anyway, I have this whole kit and system and earwax remover stuff and all this. So I said, when you get home tonight from work, this was like what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I said, when you get home tonight, I'll do the ear flush thing on you. I'll put the wax remover in your ears. I'll do the whole thing. And then by the time everything was said and done and dinner was over and the little kids were in bed, I was like, how's your ears?
Stuff doesn't happen.
And then, yeah.
It was like a day and then it was totally
you were
fine.
like, fine. I never had to do it.
And I think Buddy said the same thing happened to him
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Buddy, all of a sudden, I have forgotten that it happened to you. And then a couple days ago, Buddy was like, oh, my ears feel like they're underwater. Oh, it's driving me crazy. And my big boys don't say anything about anything ever. You got to pull it out of them. And I was like, what? And he was like trying to explain it to me. I'm like, oh, I forgot. I was like, that happened to Daddy. And there's a live stream with Dr. Barry. I don't know which one, who knows. And somebody had written in a question, which is why I love watching those medical live streams because it's all these different questions and you just pick up little things. And somebody said something about the ear, like the inner ear and the liquid and all this stuff and earwax and all this stuff. And he said, yes, it's actually been scientifically proven that once you're carnivore for a certain amount of time, depending on the person, all of your fluid in your ear changes and rebalances out. I'm saying it in layman's terms. He knew all the medical stuff. And then if you made an overproduction of earwax, you won't anymore. It's going to balance. Your body is actually going to balance itself out. And when I heard that, this is before everything happened with my family, I was like, glory, hallelujah, because I just paid all this money to stupid doctor's office and got this ear flushing thing and it's fine. I mean, it's good. It worked, but it's just a pain in the butt when you have 3 kids to flush their ears twice a day. And it's like, it's this whole thing, and you got to put peroxide in it and you got to do this earwax softener stuff. And it's just this whole deal. So everybody is doing great. And I'm so thankful. And we're going to see because we're going to be coming up on our 90-day sick.
We eat inordinate amounts of eggs on carnivore, and I love my eggs sunny side up. And I put eggs in my coffee. And you're welcome if you try raw eggs in your coffee with an immersion blender and a teaspoon or tablespoon of Texas Boys honey.
That's what
you're welcome. Yes,
and you
I
do
did
it with
that
coconut
for you.
cream, but you can also do
at
it
times
with heavy whipping cream.
Yeah, at times but if you use the eggs, you don't need any creamer.
I have eggs. My little kids have eggs every single day. Lots of eggs. So I today, my first meal, I had 2 hamburgers, I had sausage, I had 3 eggs.
Yeah, we usually put sunny side eggs on our burger.
I put eggs on our burgers. Anything. I put eggs on top of the sausage.
Bacon.
Bacon, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. We don't do butter because it's something that I'd have to buy off the farm. So I don't do that. And we don't do dairy because, again, it's something that I'd have to buy off the farm. So I just don't do it. But heavy whipping cream is totally okay. For a dairy, if you have to, have something in your coffee. We use heavy coconut cream in ours, and
it's yummy.
Coconut is fine too on carnivore. Coconut oil, coconut cream, that's totally fine. You're gonna have a burger tonight. Have 2 burgers tonight. Have as many burgers as you want. Just eat as much.
Burgers until you're full.
Yes. Yeah, the egg layers are making it happen. And we
Ooh,
put
2 dozen a
away,
day. Right now.
yeah, and we put away 600 eggs in water bath back in the spring when they
Pickling
were,
lime.
yeah, we limed them in BPA free buckets, food grade
The
buckets.
gamma
And
tops. Yeah.
yeah, they were 3.5 gallon buckets, and we put away
Works great, y'all.
a little over 600 eggs, and
Good
we've
tip.
been pulling from them too and using them. But
That way in the winter, you don't have to buy eggs.
yeah, the awesome thing, well, we don't need to turn this into a carnivore thing. We need to get off because we've been
Yes,
on
we
here an
do.
hour.
We've been on here
I
an
gotta show my
hour.
dress real quick. I will link it for
Okay,
you
show your
ladies
dress.
that want to see that, because this is a dress a day for the month of July. So
Sorry, guys.
sorry, guys. Sorry. But your wife might appreciate it. So this is my new dress, and I'm very, very happy about it, y'all. So
That's
happy.
good.
So happy about this dress. It just has a little drawstring waist here, and you can just do that, and it's super cute, and it's very lightweight.
You're super cute.
Very lightweight, and pockets. It's got pockets, so that is super awesome. And I would totally wear this to the beach. Like, I know some of you ladies have been asking, what would you wear to the beach, or if you have teen girls or whatever, I would totally wear this to the beach. I think this is very, very comfortable. I got my yoga shorts on underneath, so you can't see nothing. And this is just a very comfy dress, very comfy house dress. It doesn't get any more comfortable than this, y'all. I don't tell me a pair of jeans are more comfortable than this, because it totally is not. If TD could have one, he would have one of these, but he can't.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have one.
He wouldn't have.
I'm a man. I wear man's clothing.
So comfy. So comfy.
I got a man's haircut. I don't got hair like woman.
They might come in long sleeve. I haven't checked them out. I haven't checked out the long sleeve because we're in Texas. I would just put a sweater on in the
Summer
winter
sweater.
time. Yeah, I would just put a sweater in the winter, and then it would be fine. And then put leggings underneath of it, and it'll be fine.
Do you want me to just leave you here to talk about?
That's it. I'm all done.
Women's
I'm
clothing?
done. I'm not going to torture you. That's
Okay.
it. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. America. All right.
America.
It was fun. He did not even use a bucket.
That sounds
because it
right.
was
That's true.
Oh my soul. He's got a little girl now. He softened up some.
All right, y'all.
All
We
right.
love you. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
Please check out the website. And thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. All right. We'll talk to you all.